5 ways a narcissist's eyes secretly expose them. There is a truth your soul already knows. The eyes never lie. And when you're dealing with someone who wears charm like a costume and kindness like a mask, their eyes will whisper what their words are desperate to hide. If you've ever stared into the gaze of a narcissist and felt an invisible chill down your spine, you're not crazy. You were seeing something real. The dead-eyed stare, a soul disconnected. You know that feeling when you're pouring your heart out to someone. You're sharing your truth, your soul, your pain, and you expect connection, empathy, maybe even compassion. But instead, what you get is emptiness, a blank canvas where emotion should be. That's not your imagination. That is what I call the dead-eyed stare, and when you see it, it's time to wake up. Because that is the moment the narcissist reveals everything. They may be nodding, they may be making all the right sounds, I get you, I understand, but their eyes aren't with you, they're distant, unreachable, they're watching, but they're not feeling. And the worst part, you begin to doubt yourself. You start thinking, maybe I'm just too sensitive. No, you're not too sensitive. You're too aware, and that awareness is your gift. A narcissist lives behind a mask. They wear the face of who they want you to see, not who they are. But the eyes can't fake it. You can't Photoshop a soul. You can't airbrush empathy. The eyes will always give the truth away. And when you look into a narcissist's eyes in that quiet moment, you'll see there's no soul home to answer the door. This is where most people get trapped, because the narcissist seems so put together. So charming, so kind, but you've felt it, haven't you? That eerie chill that runs through you when you stare into their gaze and nothing looks back. It's like walking through a house with beautiful furniture, but every room is cold, hollow, and haunted. No warmth, no life, just performance. Let me tell you something real. That emptiness you see, that's not accidental. It's not temporary. It's intentional. The narcissist has shut off that part of themselves because connection is vulnerability. And vulnerability is something they fear more than anything. So instead, they replace feeling with strategy. They don't connect. They calculate, and in that moment, while you're seeking comfort, they're dissecting your emotions like a surgeon with no heart. They're cataloging what makes you tick, what makes you cry, what makes you weak. Because they're not trying to know you, they're trying to own you. And the dead-eyed stare is the sign that you're not in a relationship. You're in a game. Now here's what you've got to understand. Your soul knows. Your body responds to truth. That uneasiness in your stomach, that tightness in your chest, that sense of being alone even when you're not. That's your spirit yelling, this person isn't safe. It's not paranoia. It's prophecy. Don't ignore it. You're not imagining it. You're intuiting it, and that's power. When you stop trying to rationalize the lifelessness in their eyes and start believing your experience, you stop being a target and start becoming untouchable. You shift from confusion to clarity, and clarity is where your healing begins. People will ask, but what if they're just tired? What if they're having a bad day? Let me tell you something. Empathy doesn't disappear on a bad day. When someone loves you, they show up in their eyes. Even when they're exhausted, you feel them. But when a narcissist goes blank, they vanish, because they were never fully present in the first place. You can't fix someone who's emotionally absent by loving them harder. You can't awaken a soul that doesn't want to feel. You've been trying to light up a burned-out bulb with your own electricity, and it's draining you. It's time to stop giving CPR to a connection that's been dead the whole time. That's not love, that's self-sacrifice. You must confront the truth. The narcissist's dead eyes aren't an accident. They are a window into who they really are, not what they pretend to be. You've been talking to their mask, and now, finally, you're seeing the person behind it. Don't look away. That look is your liberation. Once you see that lifeless stare and you name it for what it is, you reclaim your sanity. Because now, you're not confused. You're not stuck in emotional whiplash. You're seeing clearly. That stare becomes your signal, your red flag, your divine alarm system. And once that bell rings, it's time to exit the performance. This is the awakening. This is the turning point. You can love yourself enough to walk away from eyes that no longer meet yours with honesty, with presence, with love. You deserve to be seen, not observed. You deserve to be felt, not studied. You deserve someone whose eyes light up when they see your soul, not someone whose stare drains it. You were never too emotional. You were never too needy. You were just dealing with someone emotionally bankrupt. And once you stop blaming yourself for their emptiness, you begin filling yourself back up. You begin returning to you, and that is the most powerful move of all. Now you are no longer a victim of that dead-eyed stare. You are a survivor of it, a conqueror of it, and now you don't fear it, you recognize it, you don't question it, you trust it, and that, my friend, is how you take your power back. The predatory gaze. They scan for control. There's a kind of look that doesn't feel like attention. It feels like invasion. You know what I mean. The moment you walk into a room and the narcissist's eyes lock onto you, it's not admiration, it's assessment. They're not looking at you to connect. They're looking at you to calculate, and that gaze, that laser, sharp, unblinking stare, that's not curiosity. It's control in motion. When a narcissist enters a room, they're not simply observing their surroundings. They're sizing up their prey. Who here can they manipulate? Who looks unsure of themselves? Who appears too eager to please? And when their eyes land on you, it's not a compliment. It's a strategy. That look is saying, can I own you? Can I use you? Will you bend? They don't blink much, do they? Because they don't want to miss a single cue. Your posture, your body language, your nervous laugh, your hesitation. They're scanning your entire being to find the chink in your armor, not to support you, but to dominate you. This is the predatory gaze. It's not affection. It's ambition wearing a smile, and you felt it. You felt watched, not in a loving way, but in a way that made your skin crawl. You felt their eyes follow you across the room. You felt the pressure even when they weren't speaking. That's not chemistry. That's conditioning. They are testing boundaries without touching a single one of them physically, and most people miss it. This is how they begin their game. Not with words, but with sight. Vision becomes surveillance. Attention becomes ammunition. Their eyes are constantly monitoring the battlefield. And here's what makes it dangerous. They're patient. They don't rush. They collect data like a predator watching from the brush, silent, calculating, waiting. What they're looking for is leverage, your past trauma, your insecurities, your longing to be seen, your hunger to feel loved. They find it all by how you respond to their gaze. Do you look away? Do you shrink? Do you try to prove yourself? That's all the information they need. Because once they've got your pattern, they begin their performance. Let me tell you something. A narcissist doesn't want to get to know you. They want to get to your vulnerability. That's where their power grows. That's where they twist reality. They'll praise you, flatter you, hook you with kindness. But it all started with the eyes. That cold, unflinching stare that scanned you like a file to be exploited. And here's the key. You've seen this look before. Maybe in a toxic relationship. Maybe with a family member who always seemed to know how to push your buttons. That look isn't new. It's primal. And it triggers something in your gut because deep down, you know that stare doesn't come from love. It comes from lust for control. This is where you have to reclaim your space. You can't stop a narcissist from looking, but you can stop yourself from folding under the weight of that gaze. You don't shrink. You don't explain. You don't appease. You stare back with clarity, not confrontation. You let your own eyes say, I see what you're doing, and I am no longer available for your game. The moment you neutralize their gaze, you disarm the trap, because narcissists thrive on silent domination. The second they feel your energy shift, the moment you stop reacting, they panic, they lose grip, because you've seen them for what they are, you've cracked their code, their gaze is supposed to intimidate you, but now it empowers you. You stop performing for their approval. You stop adjusting your behavior just to avoid their criticism. You stop shrinking your light to make them comfortable. You stop dancing for the crumbs of their validation. And when that happens, you reverse the dynamic. Now they feel uncomfortable. Now they feel seen, and narcissists hate being seen for who they truly are. That's why they scan to strike before they're exposed. But once you've seen that predatory gaze and named it, you become immune to its power. Let's be honest. Most of the world teaches us to ignore these signs, to give the benefit of the doubt, to confuse intensity with interest. But now you know better. That stare that once made you question your instincts, that stare that once pulled you into a silent panic, it's no longer a weapon. It's a warning label, and you've learned how to read it. So when you feel it next time, don't flinch, don't freeze. Just stand still in your power. Let them look, let them scan, but know this. They cannot own what they cannot break. And you, now aware, now awake, are unbreakable. This is your breakthrough. The moment you stop internalizing their stare and start owning your worth. The moment you stop trying to win them over and start honoring your own boundaries. The gaze that once held you hostage now sets you free. You've outgrown their control, and you've risen beyond their reach. The flicker of rage, micro. Expressions that betray them expanded. It happens in a flash. A twitch of the mouth, a tightening around the eyes. A flicker of something dark that vanishes just as quickly as it appeared. Most people miss it. But if you've ever stood too close to a narcissist during a moment they didn't get their way, you saw it. You felt it, that sudden shift in their face, that barely contained eruption. It wasn't sadness, it wasn't confusion, it was rage. Pure, entitled rage, and it escaped for just a split second. Narcissists are master performers. They craft an image so meticulously polished. They fool almost everyone. But the mask isn't seamless. It has cracks, and those cracks show up when their ego takes a hit, when you challenge them, question them, or worst of all, ignore them. That's when their real face leaks through in micro expressions they can't control. They'll be smiling at you, pretending all is fine, when suddenly you'll see a shadow of disgust or fury cross their face. It might be just for half a second, but it's realer than anything they've ever said out loud, and you can't unsee it. Because in that moment the illusion breaks, the charming surface shatters, and what's underneath is volatile, vengeful, and entitled. This flicker is not just a mistake, it's a warning. It tells you exactly what they'll do when the spotlight is gone, when no one's watching, when the applause stops and it's just you and them behind closed doors. That flicker, that's the mask slipping. That's who they really are, and it should stop you in your tracks. They can control their tone, they can fake kindness, but the body doesn't lie, the face doesn't lie. Those micro expressions are the truth sneaking out, even when their words are layered in charm. That look of contempt, that flare of hostility in their eyes, that wasn't an accident. It was their inner storm forcing its way to the surface. You may have excused it. You may have said, maybe I imagined that. But deep down, your gut already knew that flicker chilled you. It made your breath catch. It made your nervous system react because your subconscious recognized something dangerous, something unstable, something you needed to get away from. And here's the mind. Bender. They don't even realize it's happening. That's what makes it so powerful. Their ego is too inflated to believe they've given anything away. But you saw it, you caught it. That involuntary flash of contempt or rage that said, "How dare you not comply? How dare you challenge me? How dare you exist outside of my control?" This is where your power begins, not in denying what you saw, but in believing it. The flicker of rage is not your imagination. It's the narcissist's soul slipping through the cracks. It's the part they can't control, the part that betrays them, and the more you recognize it, the stronger you become. Because now you stop falling for their sweet words. Now you stop explaining away your discomfort. Now you realize that no matter how elegant their delivery, their face told you a deeper truth. Their spirit leaked out in that millisecond. And it showed you the monster behind the mask. You start noticing the subtle curl of the lip when you talk about your success, the tightening of their eyes when you talk about your boundaries, the clenching jaw when you no longer play the role they assigned you. These aren't coincidences. These are emotional fingerprints of the narcissist's inner turmoil. You weren't wrong to feel unsafe. You weren't paranoid. Your body picked up on what your brain was trained to dismiss. And now you see it clearly. That flicker wasn't just a moment. It was a mirror. It reflected their inability to handle your light, your power, your refusal to shrink. From now on, trust those flashes. Trust those expressions that don't match the words. The more you train your mind to notice those micro signs, the quicker you dismantle their illusion. You become immune to their seduction. You stop playing the role of caretaker to their wounded ego. You become your own protector, and here's the irony. They will always try to control the narrative, but they can't control that flicker. It's the soul rebelling against the lie. It's the reality that spills out no matter how rehearsed they are. And if you're paying attention, it tells you everything you need to know. Run, heal, never return. You are not crazy for noticing. You are not dramatic for reacting. You are becoming emotionally intelligent, spiritually alert, mentally unshakable. That flicker was never just about them. It was a call for you to wake up and rise, and now you have. The mirror glaze, eyes that imitate empathy, not feel it. Have you ever looked into someone's eyes and felt like they were reflecting exactly what you wanted to see, only to realize later it was all a performance? That's what happens with a narcissist. Their eyes don't show true empathy. They imitate it. They mirror back your emotions, your values, your pain, not because they feel it, but because they know it's the easiest way to earn your trust. The narcissist doesn't connect through compassion. They connect through mimicry. They study your tone, your facial expressions, your body language, and like an actor on stage, they replicate it with uncanny precision. You'll think, wow, they really get me. But they don't. They're just mirroring you to get what they want. That's why it feels so magical at first. You think you found someone who sees your soul. They look at you like you matter, like you're safe, but it's not real. It's rehearsed. Their eyes lock onto yours with an intensity that feels like emotional depth. But what you're actually seeing is emotional strategy. They know how to nod at the right time, how to widen their eyes in sympathy, how to lean in when you're vulnerable. It's psychological warfare disguised as warmth. And when you're starving for connection, that fake empathy feels like a lifeline. It's emotional fast food, satisfying in the moment but leaves you sick later. But here's the twist. The deeper you go, the colder it gets. You start to notice that their empathy never shows up when you need it most. In crisis, they're absent. When you're hurting, they're impatient. When you're not useful, they're dismissive. That intense gaze, it disappears when your emotions require effort, not performance. You begin to feel like you're crazy, like you imagined the connection. But you didn't. What you felt was real to you, and what they gave you was a simulation. That's the cruelty of it. You poured your truth into what you thought was an emotional bond, but they were only ever giving back what you gave first. Look closer at their eyes, not in moments of calm, but in moments of tension. Do they flinch with your pain? Do they well up with your sorrow? Or do they freeze, go blank, even smirk? The eyes reveal it all. In the face of true empathy, the eyes respond reflexively. In the face of manipulation, the eyes stall, as if waiting for a cue. This is the mirror glaze of a smooth, shiny surface that reflects your humanity back to you, but contains none of its own. It's a mask that flatters, a stare that simulates, but there's nothing behind it. No compassion, no depth, just calculation wearing the costume of care. And when you stop reacting, the mirroring breaks. They can't maintain it on their own. They need your energy, your cues, your stories. You were the source of their mimicry. And when you stop supplying emotion, their eyes go cold. You'll notice it. The spark that once felt magnetic turns mechanical. It's eerie, it's silent, it's revealing. That's the moment you wake up, the moment you stop begging for empathy from someone who only copies emotion but never contributes it, the moment you realize you're not in a relationship, you're in a performance. And the script was never written for your healing. It was written for their control. So you stop, you break the mirror, you withdraw the real emotion. You stare back, not with fear or need, but with clarity. And in that stillness, you see it, the hollowness behind their eyes. You see the reflection lose its shape. You see the imitation fall flat. And for the first time, you become immune to the act. There is power in knowing, power in naming. When you understand that what felt like empathy was emotional theater, you stop surrendering your soul for a show. You walk away with your dignity intact and your self-respect resurrected. You become unmirrored, no longer defined by their projection, and when you find real empathy again, you'll feel the difference. It won't mimic you, it will hold you, it won't reflect your pain, it will respond to it. You'll see it in someone's eyes, not a glaze, but a fire, not a performance, but a presence, and you'll know deep in your bones that this time it's real. You deserve genuine connection, not mirrored manipulation. Not synthetic empathy, not a script written to extract your energy. You deserve to be seen, truly seen, and never again confused by the empty shimmer in a narcissist's eyes. The hunter's stillness. When their eyes go emotionless, there's a moment in every entanglement with a narcissist that changes everything. A moment that freezes your blood. It's not when they yell. It's not when they insult you. It's when they go still, completely still. Their eyes stop blinking. Their face relaxes into a void. It's like something inside them shuts off. And in that terrifying silence, you see the truth. They're hunting you emotionally. It's not just coldness, it's calculation. They're not reacting, they're scanning, reading, evaluating how to dismantle your strength. Their pupils dilate, not in awe or love, but like a predator locking on to prey. And in that moment, your intuition screams, because you're not looking into the eyes of someone confused or hurt. You're looking into the eyes of someone who is strategizing your submission. When a narcissist turns on the hunter's stillness, you feel it in your body. Your chest tightens, your breath shortens, your instincts want to run, even if your mind hasn't caught up. That's not fear, it's wisdom from your nervous system. Your body is picking up on the threat long before your logic understands it. This stillness isn't about peace. It's not Comet's control. It's the pause before the strike. It's the moment they assess whether to guilt you, gaslight you, punish you, or discard you. Their eyes go blank because they're emotionally disengaging. They're not feeling with you, they're analyzing how to win against you. You'll notice this happen right after you've asserted yourself, right after you've drawn a boundary, right after you've done something they can't control. They can't scream because that would reveal too much. So instead they freeze, they go inward, but not to reflect, to recalculate, and here's what's terrifying. They know this silence scares you. They've used it before. And it worked. You apologized, you doubted yourself, you backtracked, so now it's a tactic. The stillness becomes a weapon. Their expressionless stare is a psychological ambush that says, I'm not angry, I'm above you. They want you to feel like you've disappointed them, failed them, hurt them. But what they really want is for you to lose your ground. Their stillness is a test. Will you crumble, or will you hold the line? If you break the silence first, they win. If you beg for a reaction, they gain leverage. If you panic, they strike. But if you stay still too, if you meet that blank stare with unshakable presence, everything changes. You flip the script. You refuse to be prey. You tell them with your silence, I see you, and I'm not afraid. That's when they falter, because the hunter doesn't know what to do when the prey refuses to run. You see, they depend on your emotional reaction. They need it to feel powerful. When you don't flinch, don't explain, don't beg, you sever the emotional leash. They lose access to your energy, and that terrifies them, because without your fear, without your pain, they are empty, useless, powerless. Their eyes tell you everything. In the beginning, they glowed with counterfeit charm. In the middle, they sparked with rage, But now, in the end, they just go dark, void, lifeless. That's not strength. That's vacancy. It's the absence of true humanity, and you finally understand you were never in a relationship. You were in a game. This is when the grief hits hardest, because you start to realize that the stillness wasn't maturity, it wasn't control, it was emotional vacancy. You kept hoping the person would return, but they were never there to begin with. Only the performance, only the manipulation, only the strategy, but don't let that break you. Let it build you. That realization is your awakening. When you stop fearing their stillness, you stop playing the role they wrote for you. You become your own force. You stop explaining your worth. You stop negotiating your value. You stop begging to be understood by someone who has no capacity to care. You walk away, not from a relationship, but from a war zone. You stop looking into eyes that go dead when you're most alive. You stop feeding a black hole that only consumes but never gives. And you reclaim your power in that choice. You reclaim your light, your self-respect, your clarity. The next time you see those eyes go still, don't panic, don't plead, don't internalize the silence. Just recognize it for what it is: the predator's pause, the narcissist's stillness, the mask slipping into standby. And instead of folding, you rise, you hold your ground, you let them sit in their silence while you walk in your truth. Because your soul was never meant to be prey. Your light was never meant to be dimmed. And your heart was never meant to be hunted. The inverted gaze, when they look through you, not at you, there comes a moment, so haunting, so undeniable, when you realize they're no longer looking at you. They're looking through you, like you're invisible, like you're nothing. Their gaze has flipped. What was once filled with intense focus, with charm, with magnetic energy, has now become hollow, detached, void of recognition. And that shift, it breaks something inside you, because it's the ultimate emotional betrayal. This is what I call the inverted gaze. It's not anger. It's not even disappointment. It's indifference. It's the look that says, you no longer serve me. And it cuts deeper than rage ever could. At least when someone is angry, they still see you. But when they look through you, you cease to exist in their eyes. It's the narcissist's final stage of discard, ecological erasure. In the beginning, they looked at you like you were the answer to every question they'd never asked. They studied you, mirrored you, admired you with those wide, attentive eyes. It made you feel chosen, wanted, needed, but it was all transactional. The moment your utility wanes, the admiration stops, the mask falls, the gaze turns inward, not outward, and now it's like you're staring at someone wearing your lover's face, but the soul behind it is gone. This inverted gaze isn't just avoidance, it's annihilation. You try to speak, and they look past you. You cry, and they blink without flinching. You reach out, and they recoil like you're a stranger. It's a deliberate denial of your presence, because to them, acknowledging your humanity means admitting they owe you something. Compassion, closure, accountability. And that's something a narcissist refuses to give. So instead, they act like you never mattered, like nothing happened, like you never shared your secrets, your laughter, your life, and that falseness. It's soul-destroying. You start to question your own reality. Did I imagine it all? But no, you didn't imagine anything. What you're experiencing is emotional abandonment by design. It's weaponized detachment. They want you to feel insignificant. They want your spirit to shrink, because a broken you is easier to forget, easier to replace, easier to spin a new story around. That inverted gaze is the start of your erasure from their narrative, so they can remain the hero, the victim, the saint. And you can be recast as the problem, the burden, the unstable one. But here's the truth no one tells you. That gaze doesn't define you. It reflects them, their emptiness, their emotional bankruptcy, their inability to maintain real human bonds. You're not invisible because you lack worth. You're invisible because they lack depth. They can't hold onto people they can't control. So when you stop being pliable, they stop being present. And that's where the power comes back. Because you start to see it clearly. They were never really seeing you. They were seeing a role you played, a mirror of their ideal, a tool to fill their emptiness. You were never loved. You were used. And the inverted gaze, that's your confirmation, not of your failure, but of your freedom. Yes, it hurts. It shakes you. It can hollow you out if you let it. But it can also wake you up. Because when someone looks through you like you don't matter, it forces you to ask the question you've been avoiding. Why did I give so much to someone who saw so little? And in that answer, you reclaim yourself. You stop chasing that gaze. You stop trying to earn it back. You stop trying to make them see what they refuse to acknowledge, because you realize you don't need their eyes to validate your soul. You don't need their attention to justify your existence. You need your own reflection, your own recognition, your own restoration, so you stand tall, even in the silence, even in the void. You face that inverted gaze and say, I see me, even if you never did. And that's when healing begins. Not when they look at you again, but when you start looking at yourself with clarity, compassion, and truth. You are not the discard. You are not the aftermath. You are not the collateral damage of a narcissist's journey. You are the awakening. You are the survivor who stared into those vacant eyes and chose to see yourself instead. And there is nothing more powerful than someone who has walked through emotional abandonment and come out the other side with their identity intact. Let them look through you, let them pretend you are nothing, because one day they'll need someone to see them, to affirm them, to make them feel real, and they'll realize they lost the one person who truly could. But you'll be long gone, looking in the mirror, seeing your worth, and living a life that no narcissist can ever erase. When the eyes can't lie, the soul is exposed. You've now seen what most people miss. The truth that hides behind the eyes of a narcissist. Not in what they say, not in how they charm, but in how they look. Because the eyes don't wear masks for long. Sooner or later, they tell the story the mouth can't conceal. And when they do, you must be strong enough to recognize it and brave enough to act. You've seen the predator stare. The one that studies you like prey, not a person. You've seen the mirror gaze, where they reflect everything you are, not because they love you, but because they want to steal your identity. You've seen the fleeting panic, those brief flashes of fear when their false self begins to crack, and they realize they're losing control. You've seen the dead eyes, the lifeless, soulless stares that reveal their true emptiness. You've seen the hyper-focus, the over-intense, almost obsessive eye contact they use to dominate. And finally, you've seen the inverted gaze, where they no longer even look at you, because to them, you no longer exist. But you exist. Oh, you absolutely exist. And not only do you exist, you rise, stronger, wiser, unbreakable. This journey wasn't about learning how to read the narcissist. It was about learning how to read yourself again. It was about reclaiming your intuition, your power, your vision. It was about trusting what your spirit always knew, that something was off, that something was wrong, that someone who claimed to love you was using your love as a leash. Let their eyes say whatever they want now. Let them stare blankly. Let them avert their gaze. Let them pretend you're invisible, because you're not invisible. You were just standing in the light, and it blinded them. And now you walk away not just with knowledge, but with authority, with presence, with vision so sharp no mask can deceive you again. You've become the person who can stare darkness in the face and say, "You don't get to define me anymore." This was never about revenge. It was about resurrection. Your resurrection. And the next time someone looks at you and tries to play that game, you'll know instantly. Because your soul has learned the language of manipulation, and your spirit refuses to translate it anymore. So go now, stand tall, eyes wide open, not afraid, not broken, but awake, empowered, and forever beyond their reach. You've seen the truth in their eyes. Now let the world see the truth in yours.